How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia, where we are dating Sachi now, which is, it kind of came out of the blue for me. I was very pleased with it. I knew we were going to get there eventually. I just didn't think it was going to happen like that. With the other girls I've seen so far, it's a little bit more of a wind-up, or at least, how to explain? At least there's like there's a progression that kind of makes a logical sense. This one does, but it's also so abrupt. It goes from her like having a mental crisis to her being a girlfriend, which is very strange. I do think it's probably the right direction to take things because Sachi's such a literal individual. It's probably, the direct approach is probably the best approach. And I really liked, like I said before, the idea of like establishing 3 kind of rules that try and hold Sachi to that are like oriented in a way to try and help her grow as a person, to be able to make better decisions and to be able to kind of launch into a correct direction of just taking care of herself, understanding her own way, and ultimately, hopefully, finding happiness. So, can't deny that that's a really fun goal to shoot for. So, let's jump right in, shall we? Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to being able to share the journey with you. And today, I have no idea what to expect. Like, normally I come into an episode and I'm like, okay, I have an idea of at least the direction we're heading. Maybe not what's going to happen, but at least there's a clear cut, like, oh, based on what happened last time, here's where we're going now. But Sachi starting a relationship, I have no clue what that's going to end up looking like, so we're going to have to discover it together. So, why don't we just get started? Just as I reported to Chizuru yesterday, Sachi and I officially became a couple. Although doing so was a necessary step toward helping Sachi regain herself, I don't want our relationship to be nothing but the means to an end. And while my master taught me a few things about romance, it was more like a playing make-believe than anything else. This is the first time I've been given a genuine romantic partnership. I've somehow stumbled into the position of a potentially considerable influence over the life of someone I care about. It's a heavy thought. A single drop of sweat runs down my spine, sending a slight unseasonable chill through my body. Guess it's only natural I'd be nervous. Huh? Lowering my eyes from the ceiling, I discover a shadowy shape protruding slightly from behind a pillar. What's happening? Judging from the signaling glint of the light that follows as I move, they're probably watching me with a monocular of some sort. Like, binoculars, monocular. It's weird. Normally you think of like a clearscope, but monocular is technically the right term. A decently made toy of that sort can read fine newsprint from 10 meters. The Pro models are highly useful as inconspicuous portable surveillance devices. But since this is almost certainly just Machina screwing around with something she ordered out of the back of a comic book, it shouldn't pose a problem to just leave it be. I can hear, like, very faintly, that sounds like a Mane. But even as I move from place to place, the shadowy form and its glint of light follows persistently. Getting followed around all day would be kind of unpleasant. I think it's time we put an end to this. No, it's probably Sachi, actually. She's probably stalking us because one of our rules was to watch me. After a moment of quiet concentration, I throw open my eyes and dash fiercely to my hidden observer. And making full use of my surprise advantage, I barrel straight into my target before they have time to react. Ugh. As my momentum carries us rolling across the ground, I twist my body to protect the stalker from the impact. When it comes to rest in the shadows, there's a fluorescent scent tickling my nose, and the feeling of something soft in my head. Oh, dear YouTube gods, we're already starting this, are we? Here we go. Buckle up. Depending on what happens here, we may have to do the faded cut. I know what that means. This would be a female breast, if I'm not mistaken. A little small for a Mane or Yumiko, but not meager enough to be Machina or Michiru. Sachi, is that you?
驚きました。ゆうくんは胸の大きさで人物を特定することが可能なんですね。
Well, to be honest, it was also going off your scent and non-reaction of being tackled, among other things. I raise my feet as I speak and reach out a hand to Sachi, who's still sprawled out on the ground. Why are you blushing all of a sudden? I don't know, dude, because you're like... Some people would find that entire experience rather thrilling.
いえ、これから彼氏彼女的なことをするのなら雰囲気作りをと思いまして。
Again, it's kind of like with the Michiru stuff. It's like Sure. But it's gotta be the right timing. And for Sachi, I'm not sure how we're gonna tell that. It's one thing if she's like gung-ho for it, but I feel like she'd be gung-ho to go for it at any time. We don't know if she really wants to go for it or not, and telling that's going to be very difficult. Appreciate the thought, but nobody asked for that sort of help.
では、どうして私は押し倒されてしまったのでしょう。
Because you've been stalking me since I left the principal's office.
ということは、最初から気づかれていたんですね。
Of course I was. The way you kept pointing that thing straight at my face, it'd be pretty darn hard to miss the reflection from the lens.
なるほど。以前マキちゃんとスパイごっこをするために購入していた KGB で採用されていると噂のスパイスコープを使ってみたのですが。
Really? You got like the actual KGB one?
反射光のことまでは取扱説明書に書いてありませんでした。
Well, probably because it was too obvious to mention. More importantly, why did you feel the need to conduct a surveillance operation on me this late in the game? Did somebody ask you to investigate my movements? You did?
はい、ゆうくんに頼まれました。
Okay. I am 100% on board with the Yu-kun. Oh, I did. Wait, did I?
はい、ゆうくんは昨日私に俺のことをよく見ていてくれと言っていましたから。
How did you not see that coming, Yuuji? And that's why you were spying on me from the shadows of the monocular?
はい、裸眼よりも細かな部分の変化を見逃さないよう、レンズ6枚、プリズム2枚構成で抜かりなしです。
How reassuring. Naturally, I didn't mean observe carefully in that sense, but Sachi interpreted it like this. I'll have to make a mental note for future reference. Just as I'm heaving a small sigh, Michiru's shrill voice approaches.
ちょっと頼みたいことがあるんだけど。って何よ、ユージも一緒？
Why is that surprising? We're dating now. If that's a problem, I can leave.
別にそういうわけじゃないけど。まさか付き始めたことをいいことにこんなところでおかしなことをしようとしてたわけじゃないでしょうね。
First of all, great voice line delivery. Second of all, no. But third of all, Sachi's about to say something about the groping, isn't she?
落ち着いてください、みちる様。鼻息の荒さが尋常じゃなくなっています。
そうね。せっかくの淑女が台無しになるところだったわ。
My finely honed instincts are telling me it's probably best not to ask what dignity at the moment.
それで本題はどのようなお話だったんですか？
ちょっとサチに部屋の片付けを手伝ってもらいたかったのよ。
Michiru, do you mean by help that you're gonna watch and tell her where to put stuff? In other words, you're incapable of picking up after yourself. Good to know.
私はあれよ、とても綺麗好きだけど、部屋を散らかす方がちょっとだけ得意なのよ。
So does everybody. Sounds rough.
でしょー。で、サチは今大丈夫なの？
ゆうくん、みちる様がこう言ってるのですが。
ゆうくん
I'm pretty sure I already mentioned she used to call me that when we were kids. Is that surprising to hear her using it now?
そういえば屋上でそんな話になってたわよね。
Michiru, you're lovely, but your memory is very bad. On the roof.
うわー！なんでもないわよ。電波。宇宙からの回電波をたまたまキャッチみたいな。あはは。
Oh my gosh.
サチ、あんたは急に人のツインテールを引っ張ってどうするつもり？
Ooh, she's asserting herself.
いえ、どうやらアンテナの具合が悪かったようでしたので、微調整を。
Look at that. That's really interesting. And look at her face, by the way. Like, this isn't for a, I don't think this makes a great thumbnail or anything, but Sachi's face right here. Look at that. It's very interesting that we don't usually see an expression like that. I kind of like it.
あんたは電波を受信なんて冗談に決まってるでしょ。空飛ぶ魔法の冗談よ。
はい、みちる様のギャグは2月の北海道より寒いですよね。
They can make a stone groan.
それって褒め言葉？それともけなし言葉？
We'll go with compliment. That has to be one of the more inept attempts at dodging a question I've ever seen. Seems safe to conclude our classmates were listening in on our conversation on the rooftop.
でどうなの？サチ借りてっちゃっても平気？
Yeah, don't mind me.
ということらしいです。
じゃあ彼氏の OK も出たしお願いね。
I wonder if Sachi was hoping we'd say no, but I kind of get the feeling she just was seeking permission.
はい。
Accept what others ask of you without exception. You could call that the principle that defines Sachi as she is today, so come to think of it, this might present a good opportunity to disrupt the status quo a little. Actually, hold on a second.
どうかした？
Can I help out with this request as well?
ユージが私の部屋の片付けをってこと？
Wait, I want to hear that again.
へ
That's great. Yeah.
急にどうしてよ。
Don't blush. Cleaning a room involves physical labor. After all, as a boyfriend, I think it's only natural I would reduce my girlfriend's burden whenever possible.
ああ、はいはい。ユーは乗る気ですか。一人も見せつけってわけですか。
You can interpret it however you want. Is it alright if I help, or do you want Sachi to handle this alone for some reason?
そうね。私としては部屋が片付けば問題ないわね。
Very accommodating of you. Much obliged.
あれ？なんか私感謝されてる？
Yeah, that you did. You're just as understanding as I'd hoped Michiru.
ふふ。
Oh my gosh.
よくわからないけど、ユージに褒められるのも悪い気分じゃないわね。
It is still annoying how they just make Michiru the scapegoat, butt of the joke of every conversation ever. I know it's gonna be a running theme for every route. Some of you mentioned that it's frustrating, and I totally get it. It never ends. It helps that I already know her story and know that she's a great character. But
というわけでサチ、今回はユージにも手伝ってもらうことにするから。
はい。依頼主のみちる様がおっしゃるのであれば、私は全然構いません。
alright, Sachi, you'll be operating as my support.
了解です。
早速仕切られてるし。
I like that yokai desu. Here we are. So this is Michiru's room.
片付けの手伝いは了承したけど、あんまりチロチロ見ないでよ。
Not a problem. I more or less grasp the structure of the room itself.
では、ゆうくん、みちる様の下着がしまわれている場所はどこだかわかりますか？
Dresser top drawer, right side. Same as you, Sachi, in the top drawer for dresser.
なんでわかるのよ。あんたもしかしてエスパー？
It's probably just an educated guess. Actually, that's exactly it. But if truth gets out, it'd become a huge hassle, so keep it secret from the others, will you? Wait, sorry, I missed it. You're psychic. Oh, okay. But no, it's really actually right here. It's interesting that he knows where Sachi's are, but if Sachi's cleaning up Michiru's room, she's gonna be putting it and organizing it in probably the way that she does herself, unless she's told otherwise.
そう。あんたもいろいろ大変だったのね。
At times like these, one can't help but be grateful for Michiru's easily manipulated nature. Anyway, the room itself doesn't look that messy. What did you want us to clean up specifically?
それはあれよ。
Ah, she sounds so defeated already. Averting her eyes in shame, Michiru points to the corner of her room where numerous stacks of dusty manga tower halfway to the ceiling. From a glance at the tilt, it seems to have been tsundere eccentric.
ゆるゆるに縛られたままのビニール紐が自分で片付けようとして挫折したことを物語っていますね。
Loops of plastic string. Huh.
しょうがないでしょ。いくらきつく縛ろうとしても最後で緩んじゃうんだから。
Well, are you trying to tie too many of them together at once? And that's why you came to Sachi?
そうよ。これでやることは分かったんだから、あとは任せてもいいのよね。
Yeah, I already gave you my word I'd help, so you can expect my best efforts.
よろしくお願いします。
So if you take a piece of how do you bind a stack of books? Would you stack them up, twine around the middle, and when you get to the top, would you wrap them a couple times and then invert the wrapping around the bottom and tie it? Is that how you do that? Huh. Gathering the plastic string from the floor, I make 3 loops, then begin to slip the magazines inside inside them at 6 at a time. Get a good pile inside, then cross the strings so they intersect at the top, make a few small loops at the corners, and then pull it taut. Loops at the corners. What is that? Is that just supposed to be like binding around like the corner where like almost like you put it around the side and it doesn't go all the way down, almost like the way you put the edge of your cover around the side of your mattress, maybe? There, got a good tight bundle. That brain cell's working hard today.
何？ユージはあれ？テレビのゴールデンタイムで裏技の番組とかやってた人？
No, not quite. Picked this one up from some books I read ages ago, that's all.
最近だと荷造り用の紐自体にいくつかの結び方が記載してある場合も多いですよ。
That's pretty cool. I need to brush up on my knots. I used to actually know all the knots really, really well, but I just never ended up using them, so... but they're really dead useful. Like, you can have random moments where you're suddenly like, oh, that would actually be really nice to be able to do right now is tie a knot.
へえ、私紐の結び方なんて蝶々結びくらいしか知らないかも。
Shoelace one can get you pretty far, but it's not stable. Sachi, how many do we have left?
それが今ゆうくんがまとめているもので最後みたいです。
I gotta admit, I really like the Yukun, and just hearing it in the middle of the sentence. My hand's still in motion, I ask for a progress report, only to be informed the job's practically over. By dividing the work effectively between the two of us, we've completed Michiru's request in less than 10 minutes.
じゃあ、そろそろ私がビニール紐で縛られてるわけを説明してちょうだい。
Huh? When I turned back, Michiru is rolling helplessly around on the floor, her entire body bound tightly with plastic string in the popular tortoise shell pattern. Oh my gosh. Sachi! Hey there, Michiru. I understand if you've acquired a taste for bondage, but it strikes me as kind of rude to play with yourself while people are doing your chores for you.
私だって好きで縛られてるわけじゃないわよ。これは
Sachi did?
はい、ゆうくんのおかげで作業的に余裕がありましたので、この機会に縛り方を体で覚えていただこうと思いまして。
Sachi, you dog. First of all, why, like, here's really interesting again. Why did Sachi do this? No one asked her to do it. Some part of Sachi just decided to do this. I've seen her messing with Michiru before, but she's also messed with Makina before as well. There's a part of Sachi that kind of pokes out like that occasionally. I kind of just missed it before as just a way to add like flavor to the story, and that might be kind of what's happening here too, but still, since the focus is on Sachi, I feel like they must be drawing attention to it. Like, because like everything else Sachi does tends to be in order that's given, so why did she do this? Interesting.
この機会にじゃないわよ。教えるなら普通に教えてよ。っていうか、そもそも縛り方違うし。
では次は本を縛るのと同じ方法で。
No.
それはいいからさっさとほどきなさいよ、もう。
Calm down. That is a very, very, very angry Michiru.
はい、わかりました。
Yuuji, Although I suppose this could be taken as another demonstration of the friendly and trusting relationship between these two share, the way she meekly allows Sachi to touch her up like a Christmas ham could only be described as pure Michiru.
でもまあ、私が苦労したのが嘘みたいにすぐ終わっちゃったわね。
Well, yeah, the request itself wasn't anything particularly tough.
ゆうくん、その発言は私たちの力を借りたミチル様への侮辱になる可能性があります。
Why are we explaining that now?
私だってやろうと思えばきっと一人でできたわよ。
その代わり緩んだ紐が原因でゴミを出す日に階段で漫画をぶちまけヌヒーと叫ぶミチル様の姿が見えます。
Appreciate the onomatopoeia.
占うなまあ二人のおかげで助かったのは本当だから一応お礼は言っとくわ。
Yeah, same to you, Michiru. You've been a help.
ありがとうございます、ミチル様。
なんか手伝いを頼んだ方がお礼を言われるって変な感じね。
I agree. No need to think too hard about it. That one. Incidentally, if you need another favor sometime, you can come straight to me.
そしたら今日みたいにユージが手伝ったりしてくれるの？
Yeah, as long as I can help I will. Anything you want, feel free to ask. Hardly as shocking as an offer as all that, is it?
その変なことは言ってないんだけど。
Oh my gosh,
なん
Michiru.
でもっていうのは本当になんでもなの？
What are you saying? Michiru. Michiru. I don't know what else I'd mean. Same deal as Sachi, basically. Of course, that only goes for the humanly possible.
それでも十分すぎる。
Oh my gosh, Michiru. You howl wrecker. Muttering the words more to herself than anyone else, Michiru pumps a fist at her side in an appropriate display of enthusiasm. What's with you?
なんでもないわよ。とにかく今日は助かったわ。じゃ、そういうことでまたね。
Okay. Yeah. After abruptly terminating the conversation, Michiru practically pushes Sachi and me out of her room, then slams the door shut. Don't really understand what that was all about, but it seems like she has something on her mind all of a sudden. Oh no. Oh, okay.
昨今のゲリラ豪雨より到達。それがミチル様ですから。
More mercurial than a barrel of thermometers. I'm going to remember that one. That's good. That's a good. I've never heard that saying before. I love it though. Seems the day I can fully decipher Michiru's modus operandi is still far away.
それと、ゆうくんはこれから何をする予定なのでしょうか？
Oh? Not really. Thought I'd just read in my room for a while.
でしたら、私もご一緒させていただいてもよろしいでしょうか？
Yeah, I'm the one who just asked you to try and spend some time with me after all.
ありがとうございます。
These actions have meaning. This is for her own good in the long run. But even so, it doesn't change the fact that I'm taking advantage of Sachi's internal rules to manipulate her behavior.
ゆうくん、
Something wrong?
もしかして私、何か変なことを言ったでしょうか？
Oh, she's watching our face. No, not really.
それならよかったです。
Apparently, relieved by my response, Sachi smiles broadly. I noticed this earlier as well, but apparently the girl's pretty astute at picking up on small changes in my expression. Okay, back to the topic at hand. Go grab a few books from your room and bring them over, alright? The genre doesn't matter.
わかりました。では、10分後くらいにお邪魔させていただきますね。
Oh, wait a minute. I don't know if we should leave this so open-ended. I've got a feeling. Yeah. When she asked that question, those clear and steady eyes seemed to be staring right through my skull to the guilty feelings rolling around inside my head, giving me a bit of a start.
よし。二人とももう行ったみたいね。
What are you doing?
ユージが何でも言うことを聞くなんて大情報。すぐに当局へ報告しないと。何？
Inside my practically undecorated room, silent except for the sound of an air conditioning I turned on for Sachi's benefit, I turned the pages of my book without offering any real conversation. Sachi doesn't offer a word of complaint at any of this. When I glance over, she's sitting passively, exactly where she was an hour ago, a contented smile on her face. Look, Sachi, are you planning to read at some point, or what?
こうしてゆうくんを見ているだけでも楽しいのですが、やはり私も本を読んだ方がいいでしょうか？
You know, there's a saying that the difference between cute and creepy is simply like the context of the emotional attachment between the people. Because if a stranger were staring at you while you were doing something and you asked them what was up and they said that, you'd be terrified. But because it's Sachi in our room and we're dating, it's actually really adorable. But it's weird that the context is that impactful on a phrase like, I'm actually rather enjoying watching you like this. I'm not trying to force you or anything, but is watching someone who's sitting around reading a book really any fun?
そうですね。読んでいる内容や部分によって表情に微妙な変化がありますし、もう2時間くらいはずっと同じ姿勢で本を読み続けているのはすごい集中力です。
Interesting. That's cool. She really likes body language.
これがマキちゃんなら早々に飽きを示して今頃一人インゴしりとりを始めていると思います。
Oh, that sounds disturbing. That's so.
はい。
Although I can't say I enjoy being compared to Machina, I guess it's safe to interpret this as an attempt at a compliment. I think I've told you this a few times by now, but you're definitely a unique one, Sachi.
はい、ありがとうございます。
For example, I don't think you'll find many people who will smile happily after essentially being called bizarre to their face, but that said, spending this quiet time alone together isn't so bad on my end either. In fact, it brings back some faint memories of the old days. We used to watch each other like this a lot in that park. I'd look up at Sachi as she soared through the sky in her swing, and she'd look over at the bench at me as I started my homework. At this stage of my life, that constant presence at my side doesn't feel as natural as it did back then. That gaze makes it a little harder to relax, even. But ask me if I find it unpleasant, and my answer would be a definite no. Uh-oh. Huh? Just as I'm reaching the end of my book, my attention is caught by the sound of someone rushing noisily down the stairs.
ねえユージ、今日から私たちの肉奴隷になったって本当？
Oh. Oh no. Oh no. Why are you so interested all of a sudden? Our sudden visitor and her bizarre question are too much for the process on the fly. Sachi and I look quizzically into each other's faces. Look, woman, you burst into my room fine, but do me a favor and keep your twisted delusions to yourself. I push myself up off the bed with a few cold words and deliver a light poke directly to Amane's forehead.
だって気になる男の子が奴隷になったなんて話を聞いたらいても立ってもいられないでしょ普通。
Yuuji, we might need to leave the country for a little while. It's getting a little dangerous. Hold on, Amane. I roughly understand what happened here, but what exactly did you pick up this criminally fraudulent misinformation?
それはもちろん私なのよさ。
Okay. Another one popped out of nowhere.
今の話をあんまねにしたら盛りのついた犬みたいに突然走り出したから痛くなる横っ腹を押さえながら頑張ってついてきたのよ。
Makana, you ran down stairs, like ran down 2 flights of stairs, and you're out of breath?
盛りのついた犬ってね。
And where did you hear the story from, Makina?
それはもちろんため息の似合う黒女のユミちゃんからなのよさ。
Huh. The conjecture from what I've heard so far, it seems to offer I communicated to Michiru was badly distorted on its way to Amane in the classic telephone game style, but it'd be a pain in the butt to try and correct all their misunderstandings one by one, so I guess I'll gather the whole lot of them and explain. Before the story gets even more muddled, let's discuss this as a group.
では、私はみちる様と榊さんにお声をかけてきますね。
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. As it turned out, Sakaki had left the dorm for a while. We ended up waiting for the slightly cooler evening before gathering in the lobby for our little chat. Now that I've got you all together, I've got a few preliminary questions for clarity's sake. Sakaki, what did you tell Makina this afternoon?
私は松島さんから聞いた話をそのままイリスさんに伝えただけよ。
I can understand that the breakdown of communication started there, but what did you say? Alright then, Michiru, what did you tell Sakaki?
私はユージが何でも人の頼みを聞くって伝えたはずだけど。
Right. I see. So that's how it is.
なんで私が叩かれてるのよ。
Because from the sound of things, you're pretty oblivious to the soul. You're obviously the sole criminal here.
だって何でも言うこと聞くって言ったらエロいこと OK って考えるのが当然じゃね。
Ironically, I think she's kind of right, but it's still wrong.
だからって肉奴隷はないでしょ。肉奴隷はその考えは甘いのよ。今の若者に必要なのは発想力。常に他人の一歩先を行くことが重要なのよさ。
I'm kind of just amazed that they're actually like seemingly okay with it. Like, what do you even do with that information?
それとこれとは完全に別問題だと思うけど。まあ、うすうすそんな気はしてたんだけどね。
Smiling wryly, Amane rubs the back of her head in an uncharacteristic gesture of mild embarrassment.
でも、ユージが私たちの頼みを聞くって言ったのは本当の話よね。
Yeah, I did indeed say that.
だから、私がユミコに伝えたことは間違いじゃないわけよ。うん。それは分かったけれど、本当に何でもなの？
Well, it has to be something I'm capable of doing, but more or less.
それは当然としても。
Uh-huh.
どうして突然そんなことになったわけ？
It's a little complicated, but to put it simply, I'm doing things for Sachi's sake.
ああ、そういえばさっきもサチの負担を減らしたいとか言ってたもんね。
Michiru shrugs her shoulders and mildly exasperated expression on her face.
つまりさっちゃんの彼氏になったからにはユージもメイドさんになると？
When you put it like that, it sounds weird. Yeah, I guess you could put it that way. Although I could quibble about the phrasing, she's got the critical point down. I'm assuming the role normally reserved for Sachi in the storm.
よくわからないんだけど、これはそういう話なの？
Uh-huh.
本人がそうだって言ってるんだからそうなんじゃない？だとしたらこれは面白いことになったね。
Oh no. Why are you all looking so evil?
お兄ちゃんがメイドになるってそんなに面白いことなのよ。さすがに肉奴隷とまではいかないまでもユージに無茶が言えるってことなんだしね。
Like what?
一応言っとくけどお兄ちゃんはもうサッチンのもんだからな。
Yes.
大丈夫大丈夫、浮気にならないやり方なんていくらでもあるんだから。
Amada, you know?
怖え、ビッチの本気怖え。
I agree, yeah. You stop that.
ねえユミコ、もしかしてあんたも何か頼むつもりなの？
What would you even do if this actually were happening in real life? It's like, this is unbearably unreasonable.
もちろん操作みたいなことは考えてないけれど、普通の用事は頼むかもしれないわね。
Uh-huh.
普通ってどんな？
マッサージとか。
I mean, that is probably the most reasonable thing we've heard so far. But still, it's a,
あんたもやる気満々じゃないのよ。グフグフフフフ。
Oh my gosh, you guys.
あまねなんて完全に中年親父になってるし。
いろんな意味で不安だわ。
Yeah, I agree.
なぜだか皆さんとても楽しそうですね。
Even as the atmosphere of our little meeting takes a rapid turn for the dubious, Sachi maintains her utterly unperturbed smile. So anyway, ultimately speaking, I might be taking some of your work from you, Sachi. Is that alright with you?
はい、ゆうくんが決めたことなら私には反対する理由がありません。
I see.
でもサチ、お兄ちゃんを信用するのはいいのだけど今回ばかりは反対しておいた方がいいと思うの
Ooh,
よ。
let her speak. I want to see what Sachi's reaction is.
反対ってどうして？
油切った中小企業の課長みたいになってるあまねえの顔を見る限りお兄ちゃんはきっと明日からパンツが乾く暇もなくなると思うのよさ。
Never mind. Just stop talking, please.
そうなったらお兄ちゃんの彼女になったサッチンとしては面白くねえよな。
よくわからないけどパンツが乾かないなら乾燥機に入れればいいんじゃない？
そっか。サッチンはきっと
Oh my
旦那が
gosh.
浮気しても笑顔で許せる物分かりのいい奥さんになんな。
I hadn't anticipated this wild burst of excitement from Amada and company, but at present, Sachi doesn't seem to be harboring any doubts about my behavior or any curiosity whatsoever. Really. But that's alright for now. What really matters is what lies ahead, how Sachi's static pattern of thought will evolve through observing my example. Okay. My previous school, when compared to your more conventional learning institutions, operated on a decidedly extreme educational philosophy. As a representative example, an instructor once showed us a plain white cup, loudly insisted it was even greener than your fresh-faced little shirts, then spent the entire lesson ensuring none of us dared even think otherwise. Those relatively new to the place tended to spend a good deal of time grumbling about how insane all this was. But when the time came, we were dumped out into the field. Those who survived eventually came to the understanding that these hazing sessions were in fact surprisingly meaningful. Those who survived, fetch me. Says, like, I understand, like, going through, like, the survival training, and I know how grueling and intense they can be, but his apparently, like, literally led to people dying. Point being, when you need to produce results that can't be achieved using ordinary methods, sometimes it's necessary to satisfy unfair demands. And through my steadfast dedication to this principle, I currently find myself playing the role of a devoted maid, serving as a capricious master. I can't talk.
ユージー、冷たい飲み物はまだ？
Oh my gosh. Coming. As Amane reclines indolently on the sofa, I carefully bring over a freshly brewed cup of tea. Since you didn't specify anything in particular, I brought milk tea. Is that acceptable?
あれ、ユージが紅茶ってちょっと意外かも。
Well, unlike Sachi, I don't have a fully stocked supply locker, so I ran over and borrowed this from Chizuru's room.
それ、絶対許可取ってないわよね。
Nope. No, but that's the price you have to pay for these high-quality Assam leaves. Not easy to get your hands on them lately.
私、アッサムってあまり詳しくないんだけど、飲み方はミルクティーがおすすめなの？
Yeah, compared to something like Darjeeling, Assam tea is pretty strong, both in color and taste. To mellow that out a little, people usually dilute it with milk before drinking. It complements the flavor nicely.
へえ、ユージって紅茶も詳しいんだね。イメージ的にはコーヒー、ブラックでって感じなのに。
I mean, that's fair. I do drink coffee more often, yeah, but black tends to upset your stomach, and if I'm drinking something other than water, I usually try to get some sugar intake while I'm at it. As a general rule, I tend to drink my coffee heavily sweetened. It's interesting. He burns so many calories, he absolutely can do that.
こうやって聞いてみると、実はユージもいろいろと考えてるんだね。
Compared to the fine calorie counting you're always doing, it's hardly anything worth mentioning.
でも、食事はあれだけ質素なんだから不思議よね。
Well, I've been waiting on Amane hand and foot for a while now, but after the way that conversation went yesterday, I guess I should be grateful she hasn't tried any seriously shady orders. Alright, Amane, if you've got any other requests, go ahead and tell me now.
本当に言っちゃっていいの？
If you're going to ask me at some point, might as well get it out of the way now instead of later.
そっかそっか。じゃあ、お言葉に甘えて、ユージも
Oh.
さっちゃんみたいにメイド服を。
Goodness, Miss Amane, you seem rather fatigued. Do allow me to give your shoulder a rub. Firmly seizing Amane's shoulders as I cut off her sentence, I dig my thumb sharply into the muscle around her neck.
やっぱり嫌がった。
Whatever you are saying, mistress, this is nothing but an earnest expression of concern on my part. Grind, grind!
まあ、羊っぽいユージの対応が見れたことだし、今回はそういうことにしておいてあげよう。
Thank you very much.
それにしても、ユージ、マッサージも、上手。
Oh, that audio. Amane smirks in evident satisfaction at my submissive words, but soon enough is squirming underneath my vigorous shoulder rub. Speculating from what I've seen of Sachi's behavior, there seem to be two methods of coping with problematic requests like this one. Either attempt to interject before the words are fully out of their mouth, or deliberately fail to hear them. Of course, I don't think Sachi's consciously trying to be dishonest, but it's a fact that she's managed to slip past some difficult requests using this sort of plausible deniability technique. But that's interesting because she's only fooling herself. She's recognizing that the request might be a bit too extreme or might be too difficult to pull off, and so she's technically trying to game the system, but she's gaming it against herself because she's only holding herself accountable, so it's weird. It's an interesting... I wonder if you pointed that out to her, what she would make of that. But given the absolute nature of the laws Sachi's imposed on herself, careless words without any real malice behind them could easily lead to disaster. To live a halfway decent life under such restraints, utilizing these kinds of gray areas is probably an absolute necessity.
なあ、サッチン。お兄ちゃんが何でも言うことを聞くって言ったのをいいことに、暴食美人の限りを尽くすあの年上、どう思うよ。
それを言うなら傍若無人だと思うけど、ゆうくんもあまねさんも楽しそうだからいいんじゃないかな。
その目、ちゃんと見えてるか？
視力は両目とも 1.5 だよ。
最近の発言を聞いてると、だんだんサッチンのことが心配になってくるのよさ。
I agree.
それより、マキちゃんはゆうくんに何かをお願いしたりはしないの？
そっか。 何もお兄ちゃんはあまねえだけのものじゃなかったのよさ。
One thing that's interesting, I wonder if anyone's gonna ask Sachi, what are you gonna ask him? Because that could be really interesting. What would Sachi ask of Yuuji?
ゆうくんはあまねさんだけに言ってたわけじゃないと思うし。
よし、そうと決まったら早速お兄ちゃん奪還作戦を実行する
アイマン。
のよさ。おうおう、あま姉さんよ。若いツバメを囲うで楽しむんもその辺にしときんさいや。
Kiddo.
そうね。あんまり独り占めしてミチルに呪いの藁人形とか作られても困るし。
そんなの作らないし。
What was that about? From nowhere in particular, there's an outraged burst of protest, followed immediately by the sound of someone scampering up the stairs. Probably safe to assume a certain nosy airhead was observing our little roleplay session from a fixed point in the shadows.
じゃあ前菜の了解も取ったことだし、次は私たちもお兄ちゃんタイムをエンジョイするのよさ。
The ex-wife.
でもマキちゃん、ゆうくんと一緒に何をするつもりなの？
はーい、サッチも一緒なら今日は勉強でもすっか。チルチルがテストで100点取った時みたいな顔されると、いくらハートの強さが売りの私でも傷つくぞ。
だって普段あんだけ勉強嫌いって言ってる子がいきなりだもん。
あまねえ、私はやっと気づいたのよさ。
Oh, yeah, sure. What's this?
気づいた？
そう、つまらないことにいつまでもこだわっていると、どこかの誰かさんみたいに生き遅れになってしまうって。
Like letting a who slip you by. Like who? Like a certain who? Oh, okay.
年齢のことで私の噂をしてる
誰のことを言ってるのかは分かったけど、どうにもうさんくさい気がするのは私だけ。
Well, whatever the reason may be, trying to improve your weakness is an admirable thing. I'd gladly help out.
のよし、お兄ちゃんゲットなのよさ。
で、本当に勉強するとしてどこでやるの？私の部屋？
もちろん学校の教室でやるのよ。
どうして教室？
I'm getting suspicious.
ハマネの部屋だとすぐに副交感神経が刺激されて眠くなっちゃうからな。
Okay.
すごい、なんか本当にやる気だ。
マキちゃん自身が言い出したことですし、ここは本人の気が変わらないうちに実行してしまうのが得策かもしれません。
Yeah, with Machina, we need to seize the moment. Sounds about right. Although our study session began with a relatively auspicious show of determination, it was less than an hour before the group's attention began to wander. In the end, I was forced to endure an hour-long session of strip old maid on a whim of Machina's.
結局ユージは一回も負けなかったわね。
They're like, gosh darn it, we tried! As we make our way back to the dorm, Amane grumbles a few resentful words, arms folded behind her head. Any card game comes down to how well you can read your opponents. When you've got the hang of that, the odds of finishing at the very bottom get pretty low.
でもあれだけバカ勝ちされるとイカサマしてると思われても仕方がないのよ。
The slander! The gall to infer that I, Yuuji, would cheat to win at strip poker, or strip old maid. Incidentally, Amane, you tend to leave your cards where you want to get rid of right in the middle of your hand, and Machina, your expression always makes it crystal clear when you get the old maid.
あっちゃ、私ってばそんなことになってたんだ。
In my old school, cards were the most convenient form of entertainment by far. Couldn't help but pick up an eye for tells. Even after I started at Ichigaya, many of the regular employees I worked with on the job were major poker lovers. Including a few who'd throw their car keys into the pot with the perfectly composed faces. Good grief, that's terrifying. I actually like poker games as the games. I like the games that are combinations of luck and like being able to do things like retells. I hate the games that are almost pure chance because they're just silly. Like you're just statistically gonna lose. But at least in a game like Texas Hold'em, 5-card stud, like there's a level of skill that's involved, which means that like if you play the table right and you're reading the room correctly, you can usually come out ahead. Or you can, if you're quick on the uptake, you can get out before you lose too much.
おかげで 私はたくさん脱がされてしまいました。
Oh my gosh.
お兄ちゃんは今自分の彼女を脱がせまくった罪悪感に打ちひしがれているはずなのよ。
Personally, I think Sachi's losing streak has more to do with the way you people kept asking her which one's the old maid at the end of the round. Cheaters. Of course, Sachi would answer with perfect honesty every time, so she inevitably ended up stuck with the Joker in the end.
だってユージの前で脱ぎたくなかったんだもん。
Then why were we playing Strip Old Maid? She prances around completely naked and shoves her breasts against me every opportunity, but she's self-conscious about this? Sometimes women are just incomprehensible.
何にせよ、お見苦しいものをお見せしてしまってすみませんでした。
Oh, trust me, that was not the problem. No problems on that count. Might have had mentioned this before, but my principle is not to refuse what's offered to me.
そういう割には私に冷たいんだよね。
Hey. Fair. I think it's only natural to get suspicious over that kind of gratuitous service, but as a general rule, men tend to enjoy watching their girlfriends strip down to their underwear. I'm no exception.
ありがとうございます。
Aww. That was very cute.
そういうことならユージの彼女じゃない私とマキナはここらでおいとまさせてもらいましょうか。
Ah, interesting. Before anyone can respond to Amane's sudden declaration, she grabs Makina's hand and pulls a step ahead of us.
なんか用事か？
用事ってわけじゃないんだけど、あんたに新しく覚えたおやつでも作ってあげようと思ってさ。
Oddly, despite the fact that Amane clearly has a very solid crush on Yuji, she plays wingman very well.
なんか知んねえけどアマネーが優しい。さては給料日だな。
いや、学生は給料とかもらわないから。
お兄ちゃんみたいにバイトしてるわけじゃねえしな。
Aw, she doesn't her route. She works at the
わかってるなら
bakery,
なんで聞いた？
which I thought was actually a very dangerous place to have her work considering her love of bread, but it actually works out really well.
そういうわけだから、いろいろわがままに付き合ってくれてありがとう、ユージ。
Fine by me. I was sort of expecting you to drag me around all day, to be honest.
予定が空いたなら、さっちゃんとデートしてくればいいじゃない。
A date?
そう、せっかく恋人同士になったんだから、デートくらいして当然でしょ。
Look at that winky face. I see. Amane seems well versed in romantic maneuvering, so if she says so, maybe this is the right timing. Alright, Sachi, how about we go on a date?
はい、わかりました。
Aw, she's so happy. Aw, there we go. Now that is a good thumbnail. Everyone happy. We ask Sachi out on a date, and Sachi's so happy.
相変わらず即答だな。
さっちゃんだって女の子だもん。好きな人とデートできて嬉しくないはずがないわよね。
私はただゆうくんがしたいと言ったことにうなずくだけですから。
ふーん、なるほどね。
Uh-huh. Watching Sachi squirm, Amane smirks suggestively to no one in particular. From that expression, I'm willing to bet she's plotting something. Better keep an eye on that one.
じゃあユージ、後のことは任せたからね。
Right.
サッチンもガツンと決めてくるのよ。
よくわからないけど、ありがとう、マキちゃん。
By the way, I'm gonna point out here, what a dangerous thing to say to Sachi. Hit him with your best shot. She's gonna try and shoot us.
それじゃあ帰ってきたらいろいろ聞かせてよね。
And with those words, Amane hurries off with Makina in tow. And there they go.
行ってしまいましたね。
Well, guess we may as well go on this date then.
はい、よろしくお願いします。
Sachi nods obediently, a bright smile on her face. All perfectly typical Sachi, but today that very normality troubles me slightly. It makes me wonder if there's really any feeling behind the pleased tone of her voice. If that smile is completely hollow. For the time being, let's change out of our uniforms and meet up in the dorm lobby.
わかりました。
I get it too. That's totally what I was worried about as well. It's like, how do you know when she's always about following orders what her actual feelings are? That's not true. I watch Sachi make her way back to the dorm, trying my best to reassure myself. It's tough.
すみません。少し遅くなってしまいました。
I think we're gonna end here. I wonder if she has a unique outfit that she's gonna wear for a potential date. And I think we will save that for next time, because obviously we're going to do the date for a full episode. This is a good place for us to stop, so we're going to end it here. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you don't mind. It's a little bit shorter, but at the same time, it's still like a 55 minute video. I mean, calm down. We're fine. But I'm itching to keep going. I wish we could keep going, but I don't have it in me to go much longer. And I think it also is just a really good stopping point. Thank you so much for all the members and patrons who are supporting the channel directly. It means the world to me. As we're talking, hopefully I have some good news. I should have by this time had a interview for a job I'm really excited for. The potential is really, really solid with this one. And it's not just like, oh, a job. It'd be easy to get just a job. But this is a job that's like, has a unique skill set. It involves the credentials I actually have acquired from my schooling. And it has a lot of growth potential. Like, it's something that could become a lifelong career, that could grow into something really sustainable, that could provide very well for me, and very likely could open the doors to me being able to do things like travel to Japan and expanding the channel. But if it works out and I do get a job, I do have a concern that my time will start slipping away from me, and it may lead to an alteration to the channel. I'd love to be able to keep going at the pace I'm going, but frankly, this pace was developed based on the premise that the part-time job I had at the time was really manageable and flexible. I'm starting to look to gun for what would become a full-time job, and so I'd like to keep things up, but there's a potential in the future that things might have to slow down. I don't know what form it'll take, as I don't want to stop any of the stuff I do, but I'm sorry, I keep rubbing my hands together, but I'm nervous. I don't want to stop anything, but like, it's becoming a reality that I might have to. And so when that time comes, I'll figure it out. But for now, just I keep it in mind, just because it's on my mind a lot and it's relevant. I do also think it really matters, especially to the people who are direct members and patrons. Like, if I have to adjust the schedule, I'm going to announce it to them very specifically and let them know, like, hey, like, if I'm not putting out the content that you at a rate or of interest, or the kind of content that you ever, like, you just want to stop supporting me, like, please do. Like, heck, even if you're just having a financial tough time, like, never feel like stepping away from supporting me is not an option. I'm grateful for any support you give me. And if you don't support me directly like that, that's perfectly fine too. I don't ever, even if this channel were 5 million subscribers strong, I'd never want anyone to feel like they have to support me. It means the world to me that you do, and I use all the resources I do to, like, flow it back into the channel to try and make it grow, to try and make art for the channel, to try and make sure the upkeep for the equipment I use is maintained. But ultimately, that's something you're giving out of your kindness of your heart, because I'm going to make content regardless. I love this. I love making content, even if it eats into, like, my free time. Like, it's free time I'm happily spending on it, so I don't need it. I don't need it. I'd love to do it full time someday, but, you know, until I get to that point, I'm going to get a job. So, yeah. But a lot of other YouTubers are able to hold down jobs and make YouTube videos, so I think I'll be fine. Just about time management, so I'll do what I can. Anyway, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel, for just being a part of this wonderful community. Y'all mean the world to me, and I'm looking forward to seeing Sachi's date next week, so hopefully you'll join me for that. But until next video, watching me, I hope to see me in next. I'll see you there.